Woodbury, Minnesota is a bustling city of 80,000 residents. Today, the landscape is defined by vast, repeating rows of identical suburban homes, with central air conditioning humming in nearly every window. But tucked right in the middle of that modern sprawl is a 4-acre anomaly. It's an active 150-year-old home wrapped in 24-inch thick limestone walls, operating with absolutely no ductwork or air conditioning. Out of all the properties within the city limits, this is the single local structure to earn a spot on the National Register of Historic Places. The Spangenberg farmstead persists in the center of Woodbury because of the painstaking, almost punishing way it was originally engineered. Back in 1869, Woodbury had a population of barely 350. The standard practice for new arrivals was to throw up a quick timber-framed house to survive the harsh Minnesota winter. Charles Spangenberg and his brother Frederick took a different route. They bypassed the local timber. Instead, they loaded massive slabs of rock onto a primitive wooden stone boat and had oxen drag the weight across rough, uneven dirt. This map traces the exact route they took. They were hand-quarrying limestone from the Mississippi River bluffs and hauling it 15 miles overland to their inland farm site. Extracting material from these imposing rock faces meant breaking apart solid, unyielding earth. It was a slow, brutal process. The extreme physical friction and labor required to move these materials yielded a structure so heavy and so deeply entrenched in its environment that tearing it down a century later would be a massive logistical hurdle. The brothers spent 2 full years laying those stones. While the masonry rose, Charles and his family literally lived inside the dirt foundation until the house was finally completed in 1871. This diagram shows the exact structural math of the farmhouse walls. At the basement level, the limestone is 24 inches thick. As the house rises 3 stories, the walls gently taper to an 18-inch thickness by the time they reach the attic. This cross-section illustrates how they applied that same practical engineering to their outbuildings in the 1870s and 80s. By building a classic bank barn directly into the natural slope of the hill, they created walk-in access for livestock on the bottom level and walk-in access for hay storage on the top. The Spangenbergs didn't place their farm on top of the terrain, they structurally fused their buildings into the earth itself. That 1871 engineering still works. When the current owners, Mark and Monica Fraser, moved in, they faced the reality of a house with no modern air conditioning. This visualization shows how the property handles a Minnesota summer through thermal mass. The extreme thickness of the limestone acts as a barrier to repel exterior heat waves, while the stone inside retains and circulates the cooler air. The Frasers treat the house like a cave. When temperatures spike, they simply shut the windows and let 2 feet of solid stone do the work. The 1871 engineering remains functionally effective today, maintaining stable interior temperatures without the mechanical cooling systems required by the modern homes next door. The durability of the buildings matched the endurance of the people working the land. The Spangenbergs grew potatoes and grain here for decades before sowing to the Chicala family in 1901, who ran a massive dairy operation on this exact spot for over a century. While the footprint of the farmstead remained static, the landscape around it changed. Dense housing developments aggressively closed in, replacing open fields with subdivisions. When the Frasers took over the property in 2008, their goal was no longer commercial agriculture. Their role shifted to stewardship, taking on the task of restoring the historic additions and meticulously maintaining the original limestone core. While a city registry marks the site as significant, the farmstead itself remains because it was built with a level of permanence that made its removal nearly impossible.